Oh my goodness, guys. Okay, so thank God I know a little bit about technology. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I literally had to completely close Chrome and then open up my browser and explore, and boom, it just miraculously started. So don't ask me how I did it or what I did. But let me know, guys, if you can see me now. Yeah, great. Okay, you guys can see me. Very nice to see you guys, all of you. Let me just acknowledge you, okay? And then we'll jump right on in. Blessed in every area of my life. Hello, happy Wednesday to you too. Welcome to the chat. Fairy girl, welcome to the chat. So glad to see you as always. Cherry's Jubilee, thank you for maintaining the chat room. John Park, hello. Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the chat as well, Cherry's Jubilee. Lisa 77, hello. Welcome to the chat. Thank you for helping me while I was trying to figure out what you guys were looking at and seeing. Thank you so much, John. I appreciate that. Sine, hello, welcome to the chat. Glad to see you. Okay, hopefully I didn't miss anyone. I think you guys are just chatting amongst yourselves for right now. Yes. Hello, Lady T is my name. Welcome to the chat. Glad to see you. All right. Yes. Yes, fairy girl. Yes, glad to see you too, Lisa. Thank you. All right. Okay. So let's jump in. Okay. I'm going to try to make this short. I know I say that every chat and we end up going over, but I'm really going to try my best today. I've gotten a lot of emails and tweets and messages on YouTube that is asking me to talk a little bit about a sociopath and kind of what's going on with the mindset and the behaviors of a sociopath. I'll share just a little bit about myself in terms of personally being a part of a sociopath. But I'm actually doing a video where I'm going to give you guys some tips and some information on what to look for so you can hear a little bit more about my own experience in the past. But I'll give you just a little bit of a small snippet of that tonight. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the sibling who is the sociopath, the family that's a sociopath and or very sociopathic, I should say, and kind of what that does to you over time, right? What you need to be looking for. And then I think we can call it a night after that. So I just want to acknowledge Stephanie E. Hello, welcome to the chat. I just saw you sign on not too long ago. So you guys are well aware of what a sociopath is, right? I'll give you a little bit of a definition just to kind of make sure that we're all on the same page. Now, a sociopath is both, I think, environmentally and genetically uh, impacted and affected. So genetically, yes, they have the genetic code. There's a lineage of people within the blood system. There's a lineage of people within the family system that has these cold, unempathic, difficult to understand characteristics that has become a pattern over time, and it has been passed down through blood and through genes. There's a lot of interesting research, and it's not available, I don't think, to you guys. It's mainly researchers in the field of psychology. There's a lot of research that highlights the genetic codes and what they look like and how they're positioned and how they're expressed and displayed in families that have sociopathic traits. It's really interesting. I may bring that to the channel. We'll see. I don't want to bore you with that, but there's pretty good research out there that confirms that sociopathy really is genetic in a lot of ways. Now, environmental, guys, we're talking about a sociopath who's been exposed to different behaviors and thought patterns, and there's been an absence within that sociopath's development and upbringing over time of love and compassion, and really just understanding what connection between human beings are. And so when you bring those two things together, genes and environment that's not okay, then you're talking about a sociopath. Now, let me also mention too that a sociopath, and I say this in almost all of my videos about sociopaths, that they tend to be different from a psychopath in only one way. I was going to say in a little bit of a way, but no, this is pretty major. So I'm going to say in one specific way, they tend to differ: sociopaths and psychopaths. Psychopaths, like our Ted Bundys, tend to be very, what's the word, calculating and strategic and smart and keen and knowledgeable about emotions and knowledgeable about humans and what they desire and what they want. Whereas the sociopath tends to be a little bit more clumsy, not very intuitive. They may, do things that is shown up in society and people can clearly see you, right? It's like a magnifying glass is on that sociopath because they don't know how to maneuver things well. Again, they tend to be rather clumsy. Imagine, for example, having a family member like this. Let's say your father growing up was a sociopath. Your mom thought he was having an affair. Your mom thought that he was being, deceptive about the income and the money. And instead of being able to kind of keep track of all his receipts and what he's doing and where he's going and where he's traveling, a sociopathic father most likely is going to forget that, oh man, I left my phone where the text messages are right on the bed and I forgot to put the lock on my phone, right? Whereas a psychopath would clearly put that lock on, maybe change it every 2 seconds, put the phone away and act like it never happened, right? So that kind of gives you a little bit of an understanding of the differences between the two. The sociopath is clumsy and not very bright, and the psychopath tends to be our Ted Bundy, which is pretty smart and unfortunately pretty deceptive. So, okay, so imagine having a sibling like this, a family member. Life is really difficult with a family member like this, and it doesn't necessarily have to be just family. It could be someone you're dating, it could be a marriage partner, right? Having a sociopath in your environment is traumatic. And the reason why I say traumatic is because you can't always keep up, right? You can't always keep up with how the sociopath is thinking, what they're doing, what they're planning, why they're planning what they're planning or thinking what they're thinking or even feeling what they're feeling, right? You can't keep up. It's like a chessboard. One of my kids that came in today to see me, adolescent, he's 18, he says, Miss Tamara, one of the things that I noticed about my sociopath mother is that, it's like playing chess with her, not checkers, chess. He's like, because if I make this move, she'll make that move. And if I withhold this information, she withholds information. He's like, she's like copying everything that I do so that I'll never figure her out or, and so he doesn't have that loving relationship with his mom because it is like playing chess, right? And a sociopath is just like that. It's like you're constantly making moves and maneuvering and trying to protect yourself and trying to understand and trying to, really gain some awareness of what's happening all around you. Because a sociopath, although clumsy, can really be rather calculating, and they can, like, run circles around you until they're caught, of course, but they can run circles around you because most of us don't think like them. They're cold, they're callous, they're unempathic, and they don't care who finds them out. That's the other thing. And so I'm going to mention another term that you guys may have heard of, but I want to go to the chat box because I don't want to get backed up on chats before we continue this conversation. All right, let me go back to the chat box here, guys, and see what you guys are seeing. Okay, hold on, guys. I don't want to lose you again. Hello, I think this is Eileen. It's either Eileen or Lynn hologram. Hello, welcome to the chat. I apologize if I didn't pronounce that correctly. Hello, student to all. Welcome to the chat. I see you retracted your comment. Let me read John Park. So he says, they present a false modesty and will be overly keen in conversing with you initially until you get to know them. Yeah, there you go. I'm so glad you mentioned that because that's one of the things I was going to mention tonight, John. We need to switch seats, That's what I was going to mention, that sociopaths know how to keep that wall up, that veneer, that wall up, that barrier until you get a little closer. Maybe you get a little closer and then you realize, whoa, this person has a can of worms that they've just opened up. They're deceptive, they're arrogant, they're mean, they're cold, they're callous, they don't care about other human beings. They never loved me, right? That's another thing I hear a lot of. Or within family dynamics where there's a sociopath, I often hear things like, I trusted you. And it's like this huge shock to the person, the victim, the other family member who can't believe that this sociopath is this way. But you're right, they know how to keep up that barrier until they're found out, and then, you know, the whole situation is over at that point. Okay. So student to all says they are manipulative and they lie. My stepdad, all for power and control. Yeah, absolutely. I will say one thing that sociopaths and psychopaths do have in common is that need for control. They have to have that. The sociopath has a lot of issues at the core of who they are, and I'll get to that at some point on this channel again. But they have a lot of issues at the core of who they are. And unfortunately, that causes that need for control and manipulation. That's why there are some, and I'm not, I want to preface this by saying I'm not trying to be sexist, but this is an issue in our society that, we have a lot of male and females who do have affairs. They do things that are inappropriate. But for men who are having affairs, my understanding over the years in research and private practice, the list goes on, in my profession, in personal life, where I've had family members in situations like this, the male doesn't always have the affair because he's interested in somebody else. And especially a sociopath, sometimes it's just an affair for the simple fact that he has the dominant hand, right? He's deceiving someone, and then he's over here, right, doing something with somebody else while he's deceiving that other person over there. So yes, sometimes even affairs are just for the simple fact of control, manipulation, and power. So I'm glad you mentioned that, for sure, student to all. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I'm gonna mess this up again. Like, seriously. I need an assistant to help me pronounce some of these screen names. Okay, guys. I think you said island, like the island. Oh, that's sweet. I love that. Hopefully, I have it right this time. So, island. I love that. So, thank you for clarifying that. Hopefully, and thank you for that. I'm glad it's an interesting topic to you. That's good. Thank you for clarifying. Liberty Can says my ex-wife. Oh, geez, I'm so sorry to hear that. Stay tuned because I have a video on that coming up really soon. You might like it. Sean Hammer, hello, welcome to the chat. Glad to have you. Chanel M, hello, welcome to the chat, says, I just divorced my sociopathic husband. He placed hidden cameras in our home to monitor me, very controlling, and used me for money. He spent 13 years in prison in his 20s. My goodness. So I have a lot of thoughts about that one. I'm going to probably come back to that, Chanel, at some point. Let me just preface this and give you like a little bit of feedback on this. Let me preface by saying that not all individuals who are individuals who have a history of incarceration, I'll put it that way, are sociopaths, but you do want to kind of have that little question in the back of your mind. Is this a sociopath? Because really just pause and think about it for a second. Incarceration is one of the most difficult things. If you've ever seen any of the television shows like Scared Straight, or some of the shows that come on MSNBC where there's like segments and documentaries of people who are in prison. I mean, just the prison environment in and of itself is traumatic, right? It's not the way human beings should be living, and they're in close quarters. That's traumatic. Just think about the different protective mechanisms that a person has to develop and maintain to be in that system, right? So not everyone who's incarcerated is unredeemable, and not everybody who's incarcerated is a sociopath. But I do want you to kind of keep that in the back of your mind, that maybe there's a correlation here, right? Those 13 years that he spent in prison, and that's sociopathy. You hate to do that, and I hate to do that. So forgive me if I'm coming across as judgmental, but there is a correlation between the two in research. So, all right. Okay, guys. So Island says, I'm in the arts and seems like a lot of this kind of person drawn to the arts, often a lot of surprises. I try to learn more. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes sociopaths are drawn to the field of art. And let me just say, sometimes they're also drawn to the field of psychotherapy, psychology, psychiatry, because there's a lot of freedom of expression in both professions. And sociopaths have a lot of space to do what they do best, which is deceive, get their needs met, use people, right? Whatever else they feel like they need to do, they get to do it in a profession that has some freedom. The arts, psychotherapy, the list goes on. Even attorneys and judges, I have a few of those in my family, have some high sociopathic traits. Let me mention to you guys, getting back to the content, let me mention something that you may have heard of. You may even have seen it online. It's basically the category is the narcissistic sociopath. So we're not saying narcissist and sociopath, we're saying the narcissistic sociopath. And that means that the sociopath, and I'm going to talk about the symptoms that you want to be aware of and the behaviors that you need to be aware of in a minute here. But the behaviors of narcissism and the behaviors of sociopathy go hand in hand. And what that means is this, that you've got an arrogant, conceited, cold hearted person who's all about their own needs and their wants and their desires and can care nothing about anybody else, right? That's the narcissist. They're always in their phone taking selfies. They're always somewhere, trying to be extra beautiful and extra handsome and extra wonderful, right? They're not humbly sharing things. They're constantly in need of other people's praise, other people's accolades, right? So that's the narcissistic part of who they are. But then they're also cold, callous, mean, uncaring, competitive, rude, unloving, the list goes on, and they're deceptive and manipulative. And that's the sociopathic piece. So imagine having somebody who has both of those sets of traits, guys. Like that is horrible. And so here's my personal story I'm going to share with you just very briefly, that back in college, I hated dating and I still hate it. I don't like it. I like to get to know you. But the whole dating scene, forget it. It's not for me. I hate it. I don't like it. In college, though, I attempted it, and I'm sorry I did. I attempted it with somebody who was not from the United States. I really liked him. He was great. He was smart, educated. The list goes on. And here I am, a freshman, sophomore, into freshman year, going into college in my sophomore year. I started seeing a lot of sociopathic traits. And I waited a while because I'm very what's the word I'm looking for, guys? I'm really careful in how I decide my next move or how I decide my next thing that I need to do. And I try to be wise. So I really pumped the brakes and I really tried to understand. And I started seeing the rule breaking and the no boundaries. I started seeing the genetic predisposition. And this is for you to take note of as well. I started to see that he didn't function like I did. I started to see that there was no point of return when there would be disagreements, or I would show any kind of independence of thought and emotion. That was not accepted necessarily. I also didn't see fidelity. I saw infidelity. I also saw deception. A pathological lying. I would catch him in many lies, and I would think, this doesn't feel right, right? So you get this intuitive sense as well that something about this just doesn't feel right to me, right? And so you want to kind of consider all those things in your scenario as well, which is why I'm sharing this story with you. And at a certain point, I just said, no, this is not going to work, and I had to explain the reasons why. And trying to communicate with a sociopath is just one of the most difficult things, because you have to maneuver around their ego, their desires, right? What they want from you. And most of the time it's not good. It's using you, it's deception, it's lies, it's pain, right? Imagine having a family member like this. They're always coming to you for money. They're always coming to you to bail them out. They're always there to hurt you, always there to say something narcissistic to you, always there to demean you, always there to hurt you, right? So, you really do have to be wise in how you maneuver conversations with a sociopath. You have to maneuver around their ego, but then you also have to maneuver around their belief systems, because it's very different from you and me, right, guys? So we may function in a healthy way with a healthy conscience, with healthy emotions, and the list goes on. Whereas, the sociopath is seeing the world through a totally different lens. And, let's say, for example, you're seeing the world through rose colored glasses. That sociopath is seeing the world all in black and gray. It's a dog eat dog world. It's a competitive world. It's a world to get ahead. And so trying to live a life with a person like this, primarily a spouse, a family member, can really lead to trauma. Now, let me highlight some of the symptoms of a narcissistic sociopath. One is they are highly arrogant. So my brother used to say you could see the arrogance oozing off of him. He's so arrogant. It's like they have this this aura, if you will, this light of arrogance, and it just says, everybody look at me, everybody pay attention to me, right? I'm important. I have money, I have looks, I have whatever they think they have, right? So they tend to be highly arrogant. The other thing too is there's a preoccupation with power, and I'm going to call this uh, really having a sense. It's a delusional sense of power. It's I have all this great power when they have about this much, and it's because of how they see themselves. Again, they see themselves as bigger than they ought to, and so not only do they exploit you with lies and deceit, but they also exploit you with how they view themselves. So there's this delusional sense of power. The other thing too, I think, is grandiosity. You guys are probably well aware of what that is. It's this sense of superiority, and it's so far up there on the charts of arrogance, right? That this person may even believe that they can fly. That's how grandiose that they are. There's also little to no empathy, and I've said that many ways in tonight's live chat. You also want to consider in a person who's a narcissistic sociopath, primarily a family member, a spouse, mainly a family member, is they tend to be reckless as well. I talked about them being not very smart, right? They're kind of clumsy. So they are reckless. They also tend to abuse their power. That little bit of power that they have that they think is so great, they abuse that. And that's what over time becomes trauma for you because they abuse that power. They're also attention seeking and they are pathological liars. So I'm sure if you've had a family member like this, you know what I mean by the pathological lying. It's just one lie after the next. And they're lies that they don't even have to tell. Like some of the lies are very, very small. Okay, guys, before I get into the rest of this, and I'm going to wrap up here in a little bit here, I just want to go back and just want to go back and make sure that I'm not missing anything. Oh, geez, I am. Oh, thanks, Liberty Kid. Oh, that's so sweet. Says Tamara would be a great mom to have. Ah, thank you. That's so, so sweet. Maybe one day. We'll see. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. Okay, let's keep going, guys. Um, Ooh, okay. So, Fairy Girl, I'm sorry. I feel like I skip over some of what you're saying, and you said the best things too. So, let me read this. Fairy Girl says she's talking about somebody who was a sociopath, and she says we worked on computers and networking. He hid the spy equipment and firewalled network to record all device activity and hid digital recordings anytime to control our devices. Yes. And you know what? And I'll give you guys this tip because owning a private practice, I really have to be safe and protective over those kind of things. Let me just say, Fairy Girl, I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of sociopaths, you can find them in information technology and you can find them as IT people. And really, I just feel like, I'm sorry to have to hover over you, but I'm going to watch you plug that in. I'm going to watch you set the password. I'm going to watch you, put that over there. I'm going to watch you put that modem over there because you're not going to do anything that I can't see. So that might be a tip for some of you out there who may have some concerns about a sociopath working on your Wi-Fi or whatever. But that's what I do, and it works every time. And then I go back and I double change things, right? So you can go back and change everything, or go back and check your computers. There's actually an app. I will try to post it in the description box for you, where you can actually you download the app on your phone, you can hook up your home Wi-Fi to the phone app, and it will tell you if you are being watched in your home, if there's a bug somewhere, if there's spy equipment somewhere, whatever. That app will plug you into that. So I will get that and put that in the description box. If I forget, somebody please let me know in the chat box. um Liberty Can says it's all very sad. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And it's even more sad, or even sadder. I don't know what's the appropriate way to say that. When you have to have chats like we're having tonight, and you have to block your life, right? Because you're afraid of what the sociopath may do. So I agree very much so. Okay, so Lady T is my name, says my mother seems to be both a sociopath and a narcissist. My daughter had an undiagnosed mood disorder triggered by extreme jealousy and lack of accountability. Yeah. Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me, Lady T is my name, that maybe she is both a sociopath and a narcissist, because a lot of people don't understand that those things are not the same thing. Like, they are literally different syndromes. Narcissistic personality disorder is different from antisocial personality disorder or sociopathy, and they overlap in some ways, but they are not similar at all. And so it doesn't surprise me that she would be both. A lot of people also who go to therapy are never observed for or clinically assessed for both. Usually it's one or the other. So we got to get better at this, you know? I like that fairy girl. Fairy girl says, hugs here. Hugs. Here's to knowing hiding yourself is not worth it. Yeah, I like that. I think we do kind of go into a show and we hide and we're a little bit afraid to step out when we've been the victim of somebody like this. Yeah. It's very easy to do that. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Liberty Can says, thank goodness you had all the tools to see, or you could have been with him for some time or even marry. Yeah, absolutely. Because the first thing that he said to my mother, who almost completely murdered him on the scene, okay, was, I want to take your daughter's hand in marriage. And my mom's like, excuse me, we didn't put her in this school for her to get married. We put her here to get an education and go on. And so he almost died that night, by the way. But yes, I'm very thankful that I didn't get sucked into that I was able to see that, Liberty Can, because that would have been a complete disaster. It would have been horrible, horrible. And imagine bringing a child into the world with a sociopath. Like, oh no, no. Island says, the thing I didn't understand when I was younger was boundaries. I thought the boundary crossing was about being close. I know better now. Yeah, absolutely. Usually in sociopathic families, guys, there is a blending of the roles, and that's called enmeshment. That's called enmeshment. Enmeshment is kind of like you're like this with your family, but you're overly like this to a point of you can't breathe, like you're smothered. And so enmeshment is unhealthy. It's not a boundary crossing, it's enmeshment, meaning you have no space at all. So I'm glad you know better now for sure. Um, oh my God, this is such a long screen. Okay. Hello and welcome to the chat. Prophet Jesus Damar Costaline Muslims one. I probably messed that up so many ways. Welcome to the chat. I apologize if I did. I'm glad to have you tonight. Hello, Kat Z. Welcome to the chat. Glad to see. Oh God, I hit the wrong button again. This is common for me. Kadzi, welcome to the channel. Glad to see you. Welcome to the chat. Excuse me. Glad to see you. Raymond Vincent Garcia Jr., welcome to the chat. Glad to see you again. Says, hi, everyone. Hi, Tamara. Can they see themselves as untouchable, like being Iron Man? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Sociopaths see themselves as untouchable. They're grandiose. I don't know if you were signed in at the time where I was talking about grandiosity, but they are grandiose. They are way up here and they feel that most of us in this society are down here. They're here and they're here. They're here, you're here. And yeah, they do. They think they are untouchable. Now, let me put these two diagnoses together for you because you may not have ever thought of these, but I have counseled mainly younger women, I'm going to say, who have these two disorders. One is the antisocial personality disorder, and that's on a spectrum, guys. The I think the sociopathy sets in when you're at the higher end. So when you're at the severe end, so at the severe end of antisocial personality disorder, where you're a sociopath, you're really kind of careless and arrogant, and you feel like the world belongs to you, and you can manipulate whoever you want to manipulate. So I had a female come into my office, not a client, but came in, needed a consultation. She had the sociopathic traits, but then she also had bipolar disorder traits. And so not only was she arrogant and felt like she was untouchable, but she was also manic. And so when you're manic, sometimes, as you guys probably already know, you have this sense of superiority or sometimes grandiosity, like you can do everything, maybe even fly. You could do everything. You feel so good, right? So this person, this female young lady, had sociopathy and bipolar disorder mixed into two, and uh, Raymond, that made her 10 times worse of a sociopath, if you can imagine. Lady T is my name, says listening to you is healing. Thank you for doing these lives. Oh, you're welcome. And thank you so much for saying that. I really do appreciate all of your wonderful comments. I am humbled by them sincerely. So thank you. Very glad it's healing. That's what this is here to do. Cheers. Oh, okay. I'm not gonna skip you, Kadzi. I'm sorry. I just looked at this. No, she says, or he says, nobody understands why a need to cut off your old mother. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you do need to cut them off. And I hate to say that, and I'm gonna be doing a video for the holidays soon about that, because there are a lot of my clients who are saying, Tamara, please help me out of this mess. I don't want to go out of this mess. I don't want to go see my family. I don't want to deal with it. I just want to go home and look at my Christmas tree or act like Christmas never happened. So I'm going to talk about what separating during the holidays might look like for you and how to cope with that. Cheers Jubilee says, my brother was evil, and multiple people said they thought he was a narcissist, but can forgetting 17 years hide sociopathy from him. Okay, I don't understand that last part, Cherry Jubilee, but you're saying that your brother was evil and multiple people said that they thought he was a narcissist. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. It wouldn't shock me. There's a high percentage of narcissists in society. I hate to say this, who are men versus females. Females tend to get diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, bipolar disorder, and what's the other one, guys? I'm blanking. Avoidant personality disorder and dependent personality disorder. Males tend to be diagnosed more frequently with narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder. It's just kind of the way things are for right now. I think there's some bias in those research studies, but that's basically what we're looking at in research. Hi, Auntie Lee. So glad to see you. Welcome to the chat. Hello. Hi, Larry Cook. Glad to see. Oh, Larry Quirk. I always miss that. I miss the R in there. Hello, welcome to the chat. So glad to see you. Welcome. Says, how do you deal with a narcissist in business when you have to interact with them in a limited manner? Oh, that's so hard. One of the reasons why I went into private practice was I couldn't deal with the narcissist that I was around. I just couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I couldn't. It's hard. That's a loaded question, Larry Quirk. I would say limit the communication as much as possible. I used to make everything an email exchange, right? That way I have a paper trail. That way I can get my thoughts out before you cut me off. Uh, and that way, again, there's a little bit of a record, there's a little bit of a paper trail for you. So that's my brief answer to your awesome question, Larry. I might come back to that in a different chat. Oh my God, I'm so behind on comments. I'm so sorry, guys. Oh, thank you, Liberty Can. You're just saying such great things, this chat. Thank you. Oh, okay. Auntie Lou says it's so sad that we have the general curse that includes sociopaths, psychopaths, um, narcissists, etc., but we can overcome it all. Yeah, one step at a time, release yourself from all of it. Yeah, I should so shut the chat down on that one, Auntie Lou, but I'm going to wrap up with you guys, okay? I think that was beautifully put. Thank you for that, Auntie Lou. I agree. Just because you are connected to a sociopath in some fashion, primarily your family, doesn't mean that you have to stay bound to them, right? You can unravel, like I had to do in college. You can unravel yourself from them. Just because you're in it doesn't mean you have to stay in it. You can say goodbye, adios amigos. We're not doing this, even if we are family. I'm just not going to do it. Okay. Hello, E. Welcome to the chat. Says my brother is diagnosed antisocial personality disorder and definitely on the schizo spectrum. Yeah, schizo spectrum. Yeah, somebody knows what they're talking about. Um, Runs in fam. Also, mixing a desire for harm with psychosis and delusion is terrifying. Oh, yeah. You mix narcissism, maybe some sociopathy with delusions and hallucinations, with mood disorder. Like, yeah, yeah. It's so the way that I like to think of treating an individual like this, E, is almost like a pyramid, right? So the top issue that we can treat is the mood symptoms, right? Depression, irritability, whatever, anger. Underneath that is probably going to be stabilizing that mood. So we're probably going to administer some meds, maybe some therapy, maybe some group talk, whatever, maybe getting a job, doing some positive social things. And at the core is, what did you say he has? He is antisocial personality disorder. So at the bottom is going to be the antisocial personality disorder because we can't treat that, right? So it's like treatment on almost in the form of a pyramid. You have to treat the most salient or the most obvious issue first that you can treat, and then drop to the bottom and try to treat the personality disorder. But that's really hard. It's hard to treat a sociopath, by the way, guys. It's getting late for me. By the way, guys, because they don't think there's a problem. They never do. Hello, Courtney Frazier. Welcome to the chat. So glad to see you. Hello, Jennifer. No, you're not late, Courtney. I see you. Jennifer Colette. Hello. Welcome to the chat. Says, would you do some videos on adult child psychopaths who show highly narcissistic behavior? This is so harmful. Yes, 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 yes. I will be watching this chat over later. So I will come back and jot that down. I'll add it to the list because that is a thing. So I will add it to the list. Oh my God, why did YouTube censor you? 939449. Hello, welcome to the chat. So glad to see you again. Haven't seen you in a while. Thank you for the hearts. Welcome. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Sean Hammer says, Buddha said, all of our self identifications are false and empty. Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, when you think of like the negative self talk that we have sometimes, yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Hello, Caleb. Kayla Bats. Hopefully, I have that right. We're going to censor this person because we're not going to talk about. If I can. Hold on, guys. I'm going to censor this person because we have a troll and I don't like them. Okay. All right. Tell me if anything has happened that I missed, but I think I censored them. They're not very smart because I got on that. They were the comment that showed up, and I was like, okay, this is not okay. You're out of here. Okay, so let me go back up because they caused me to lose my place with you. Sean Hammer, I was commenting on your comment that yeah, some of the negative self-talk. Yeah, yeah, I agree with Buddha on that one for sure. Pup Steam, hello, welcome to the chat. Says, my son's father is diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. He spent the first 6 years of his son's life in Fed prison for fraud. Ugh. He stole, lied, fraud. It was a nightmare. Nothing was safe. Yeah, absolutely. Because once you find out that somebody's doing all of these evil deceptive things, it's like those feelings you had for them just, or any kind of anything you had for them just dissipates. You're like, oh my God, well, like, where did they go? Right, I don't have those same feelings anymore. And it's because you realize that you were so violated, right? Okay, so Kayla Bat said this is so interesting. I don't know if I welcomed you. Welcome to the chat. Okay, let me close up this conversation, guys, because I've gone over time again, because you guys just bring up such good things. Let me just say that if you have a sibling, a mother, a father, a cousin, whatever, a family member, a marriage partner who is a sociopath, I think there's three things that you need to be focusing on. One is the calculating and triangulating behavior of that sociopath. Sociopaths like triangles because they can manipulate them. They can create a persecutor who points the fingers and blames, but then they can also run and hide and be the victim. And so therefore they look like the innocent one. So you want to look for that, right? Are they calculating? Are they triangulating? The second thing that you really want to look for is what drives them, right? Do their self-interest drive them? And what are those self-interests, right? Is the self-interest pornography? Is the self-interest robbing people and deceiving people? Is the self-interest engaging in fraud? Right? Like someone just mentioned in the chat, right? So you want to keep that in mind, right? And the third thing before we wrap up is you want to look at how they approach you. A narcissist who engages with you for their ego. A sociopath will often appear empathic. They will often appear interested in you for their greater interest. So let me break that down very briefly before we wrap up. The narcissist will engage with you because they have something that they need from you, right? You give them something. You stroke their ego. A sociopath, they could care less about you stroking their ego. They just want to get you as far as they can so they can grab that ultimate thing that they want and feel accomplished. All right, guys. You guys are so wonderful. I see you in the comment section saying, thank you, Tamara. Love you, Tamara. Yes, you're welcome. Love you guys so, so much. Yes, you're welcome, John Park. I see you. Who else am I seeing here? Auntie Lou, I see you. You're welcome, JW. Cherry's Jubilee. Nini, please touch on the sociopath, psychopathic initial trauma. Yeah, I will get to that for sure. Auntie Lou, you're welcome. And thank you so much for those sweet comments, the hearts, the love. I really, really do love you all. You guys are so great. And for most of us, some of us have met in person, most of us online, most of us in my consultation, some in my, my office. But wherever we have met, I always say, I love you guys so, so much. You are the greatest group on YouTube. Thank you so much for your participation. I will see you in the next video. It may be live, it may be recorded, I don't know, but there's some really cool stuff coming up. All right, guys, I love you so much. Let me mention this as well, too, before I go. I'm going to be out of the office for the next 2 weeks. I need downtime. So you're not going to get a live from me for the next 2 weeks, but you will get tons of videos. So I hope to see you on those. All right, I love you guys so much. Bye-bye. Have a good night.